Happy Friday, everyone, and thank you for joining the last sessions. Well, this is quite boring topics today, talking about regulations and compliance over digital assets and privacy. But we have a very strong panel today. Please help me to give your big hands to my panel because, like Angelina, you see, he just got injured on her legs. And some of my panels, they just come back from overseas as well as from some happy meeting. So please help me to give the big hands to all of them.
And to our moderator, thank you very much.
Thank you, my good friend. We know each other since the time when we are the accountant, right?
Oh my God.
What happened to you? You ski or what?
No, I walked out of an elevator and the whole floor looked a little bit shiny. It was actually wet, so it splat.
Oh my God.
And I ripped my meniscus.
Oh my God.
Course,
Oh my God.
not a good thing to do.
Okay, so that's why we need to master this from time to time, and regulation and compliance always help us to mitigate those risks.
Exactly.
Do you need a lawyer?
Yes. No, my lawyer's already in the building.
We have another one here.
Yeah.
We have another one.
Oh, you know what? Well, dear audience, we have two lawyers on the stage. All right, so you are pretty safe, Angela. If you want to take some legal action and sue some bad developers or some bad property management, let us know. All right.
Okay.
I have my law firm too.
Yeah, that's true. You have your own. Okay.
All right. Besides Angelina, she is the senior advisor of IMC Asia Pacific. We also have Monin, the managing partner of MUNG Legal. All right. We also have JB, the partner from K&L Gates. All right. Last but not least, we have Donald Day. I did the wrong pronunciation last time, so please bear with me. All right. Okay. Because I have a regular friend called David. So from time to time, I call Donald as David Day. All right. So Donald Day is the CEO of VDX. Now today, thank you very much to all of you because this is the last session, and I'm sure every one of you are desperate to go for happy hours of drinks. Now, why not I go straight because we only have 40 minutes with a lot of questions, but at the same time, we have the entire agenda being overrun. So we are like those people say in Chinese, 守尾門. So we have to manage time, everything at the same time. Donald, please bear with me. 守尾門 means we are the last gatekeeper, all right?
Keeping everybody from drinks.
On a Friday.
Okay.
We're just open to Q&A.
Yes.
Yes. We are having very boring topics here, but we have a very interesting, humorous, as well as experienced speakers in the industry. So why not I just go straight to our questions? All right. Since you guys understand, since 2022, we have our regulators that announced new regulatory regimes over digital assets and some of their associated products and services. And since then, we have a lot of a joint announcement by SFC and Hong Kong monetary authorities talking about the new regulatory regimes as well as the digital refinements after some discussion papers. So, my dear friends over here, please share your viewpoints on how do you think those implications of new regulatory regimes on your business. I know, Donald, you have been quite involved in the early days since the regulatory regimes over digital assets. Why not help us to drive the discussions?
Thank you. And this is clearly the most fun panel of the whole day. Thank you for the organizers, first of all. And it's a very good topic because just yesterday the third license was issued by the SFC. So that's clearly a great move. That's clearly showing that there's momentum. The original voluntary framework under the SFO was in place since 2019. The mandatory regime came into effect last year under the AMLO. And that's great because it creates a level playing field. There cannot be any unregulated or unlicensed trading platforms in Hong Kong anymore. Hong Kong has a globally leading regulatory framework, and it's comprehensive and it's really proven itself over the past 4 or 5 years. What we've seen over the past years that quite a few of the applicants have dropped out. They weren't really prepared for the rigor and discipline that is required and the really resilience that is required to go through this quite complex and intense process. And at the end, we'll probably have a handful of licensed trading platforms that are run very similar manner like equities exchange, because that's clearly the benchmark. The benchmark is not some crypto trading platform somewhere in the world, it is the world's leading equities exchanges. Since then, the regulators have taken a step-by-step approach to expand this regime, distribution of funds, omnibus accounts, lately ETFs. Of course, and that's a very critical point, there is a balancing act. So on the one hand, it's good that high-quality platforms and high-quality entities are encouraged to be in Hong Kong. On the other hand, it must be commercially and financially viable to achieve that license, especially as a lot of the license applicants are actually startups. They're not backed by huge banks who can spend gazillions of dollars, but they're backed by VC funds and investors run out of patience at some point, and they want to see results. Over time, this has created a lot of institutional interest, and that is good for Hong Kong. Participants in traditional finance deal in one thing mainly, and that's trust. And this trust is created by that licensing framework. And before we had that licensing framework, prior to 2019, especially prior to last year, we had quite a few big names that were really run like cowboy companies and fly-by-night shops. Lots of volume, no AML KYC, no investor protection, no segregation of duties. They've all left Hong Kong, and that's a good thing. We've seen more and more real professionals come into the market, professionals out of very high quality, large positions in traditional finance come into the digital asset space in Hong Kong, and that's very encouraging, and a lot more needs to be done, of course. So we've seen the spot OTC regime probably come from customs and excise to the SFC. We'll probably see borrow lending derivatives in the next 18-24 months. And that's really a risk management toolbox for institutional investors. All of that together, it's trust. And people come to Hong Kong, and we had a very interesting conversation just over there 20 minutes ago, that it's not only Hong Kong institutional investors, it's not only Hong Kong professionals coming into the digital asset market in Hong Kong. And my opinion is that it's largely driven by the trust that is driven by this rather complex regime.
Well, thank you, David. When you mentioned about the regulatory regimes, I think that you're not only mentioned about the formality things, you talk about the substance, about trust, which is the backbone for every regulators or governance policy makers trying to develop the policies guidelines according to the substance, which is the objectivities. Now, talk about trust, okay? From time to time, we work with some angel people, what I call lawyers, legal firms, okay? All right. Jay, okay, I understand you are quite involved as well, because when Don mentioned about licensing, you have a few clients which are also obtain license or the product or service or exchange. Would you mind to share some of your views to us or share some of your experience and comments to us, Jay?
Sure. Dialogue sort of, I think he touched on more the exchange angle, and then I help exchange clients to try to get a license from SFC on vehicle license as well, and then it's not easy, and then it takes not just 1 year, but sometimes more than 2 years and 3 years. And then it's a longer process and then complicated process and discussing with the SFC in many occasions. So itself, exchange licensing itself is I think is a tough one. But also I'm helping on the other angles as well. For example, OTC licensing and also stablecoin licensing as well. I mean, those are we don't have licensing regime effective yet. We have some consultations, so some other clients are trying to see how they can get license on OTC, for example, and also stablecoins as well. And on those angles, as we don't have any licensing regime yet, so I don't have to handle the regulators yet on those licensing for my clients. But for now, if we look at the overall regulatory regime, as Donna said, Hong Kong clients feel positive on the developments as well. But also I have some other clients outside Hong Kong as well. And I see more interest and more activities coming from, for example, Korea and Japan, to see how they want to do more business in Hong Kong. For example, they want to get a OTC license if it becomes effective. Also, they are looking for stable coin, not just the Hong Kong dollar stable coin, but maybe Korean won, Japanese yen stable coins if they can get a license. So on those angles, I see more interest and also enthusiasm from clients on those licensing angles.
Thank you, Jay. Well, in fact, I see quite a lot of communities like Japanese friends or Korean friends. They're actually moving the business to Hong Kong. They're not just looking for licensing to exchange. But I see quite a lot of startups, young people. They are they're trying to creating some good products like tokenizations or networks or as a platform for the IP for the digital products too.
That's right.
I see a lot of young people, right? Monin, Monin, sorry, I always make the wrong pronunciation on the last names. You see, we have a very international panel over here, so from time to time I have to match my accents as well as the dialect. So, Monin, don't let our male lawyers to take the lead, to share your reports, because nowadays, we talk about ESG evidence. We need women leaders like female leaders like you and Angelina to help us or to talk about some hot topics and regulatory compliance. What do you think about regulatory regimes history so far in Hong Kong since 2022?
Yeah, so it's timing. Donald ruthlessly took 10 minutes. You took 8 minutes. So I have to have my talk. So I'm sitting here with. I'm sitting here with a lot of vitamin D, but I'm really in my bone a decentralized libertarian. So it's very simple to me. Regulations, clear cut. We advise the regulated blockchain projects or the startups. The other side, which is more exciting, would be the unregulated arena, which I find so innovating and exciting. So the unregulated part of things would be everywhere in the world. It could be in Panama, Cayman Island, BVI. You see a lot of test cases. Of course, in Hong Kong, the regulations attract institutional investors. We talk hear a lot of family offices, but how many family offices really invest in digital assets? We need to have some data. Everyone's just doing macro statements. So, of course, with regulations, the risk-averse institution investors, the family office will come in, but take a smaller position. But they also invest a proportion in the unregulated space. Because when they gain traction by natural law of attrition, they might come into the regulated space. So we're seeing both ends, and we're really in Singapore and Hong Kong. I see the same tone, although displayed differently. Perhaps the monetary authority in Singapore are piloting different initiatives, government initiated, and Hong Kong government may not have that deep tech capacity, so they are holding back. So it's a matter of claim and control. So the claim would be my rights, my innovation, and the control by the government. It's always a balancing act. So me being a libertarian, I'm more on the innovation side of things as a lawyer. So there you go.
Yeah, I have to agree with you because sometimes we are working with an emerging industry. We have to strike the right balance between risk as well as the business opportunities. Right? Angelina, well, you are like the icon persons in the digital assets world, particularly in Hong Kong. What's your viewpoints about the regulatory regimes since 2022?
I think we've moved along, and I think we've come so far from the time that a group of us met. Donald, I don't think you had even joined the SEC then, but there was a group of us that met at the FSDC's offices. And that original group was so scared, they didn't want any pictures taken, but they came from all the major exchanges, from Binance, FTX, I was from BitMEX at the time, and we all were there to sort of discuss how do we get legitimate in Hong Kong. And it was FSDC, in fairness, the Financial Services Development Council, Rocky and King, who actually believed in us and believed in this and wrote a report about the difficulties of digital assets and the visa problems and how this could be an area to grow. And they wrote a really, really comprehensive report. And thankfully, Julia, I'm simplifying this, but Julia really took an interest in it. And it was her that really moved forward and introduced this regime in place with the help of Donald and a number of people within the SFC. And now we do have a thriving industry. If I were to complain about one thing, I would say that I wish that we could find more ways that the digital asset firms that are licensed now could actually make more money, which means education of investors, opening up the investor base to this area, because it's difficult, and we've seen digital asset firms go through tough times right now because there's just not enough clients. And if you're only just concentrating on Hong Kong, we only have 7 million people. And we're going to have, today there was an announcement of a new licensee. So I'll let that person
Angelina.
talk about their license. Okay. So that's 3 houses in 7 million. So it's hard to make money. And it would be nice if we could open up somehow that people could make more money. So I guess if I could fix something, I would love to have more of an investor base that would be interested and really educated. And you know, with JPEGs happening, that could have all been stopped if there were more education. And we have various investor education groups that could actually do a bit more in terms of educating about digital assets. And just getting people more interested in the industry would really be a great help, because it is a great industry. And, you know, I talk at a lot of conferences, and the excitement of Bitcoin, the excitement of the different products and services and pudgy penguins, I don't think we actually hear enough about this in Hong Kong. And it would be nice to have more of that discussion together. So to build more of an ecosystem in place. So that would be my only complaint, but we have really come a long way, and that's a good thing. So.
Yeah, thank you, Angelina. Thank you for mentioning some of our, frontiers from the authorities, like you mentioned about FSDC, like K&L, Rocky, Invest Hong Kong, King Learn, okay, right? And they also try to connect all those authorities, SFC and how much authorities people they work together, right?
These people all have the passion, just like all of you here today. They really have a passion for Hong Kong. And sorry, I'm going to do a 2-second plug. For those of you who don't know about it, all of October has been declared Blocktober. And over the month of October, we have a ton of events going on. Why? Because we want to attract the best of the best. We want to attract developers. We want to attract investors. We want to attract people that will help grow our ecosystem. So we've attracted Chainlink to come and deal with SmartCon. This is a huge conference. If you don't know about Web3 Harbor, or if you don't know about Web3, you have to go to that conference. We've got Consensus coming, which is a huge international conference, bringing in new people. And then we've got local conferences. Emergent X is putting on Digital Visionaries. For those of you who want to get a license and want to learn how to get a license, that's a conference for you. So we're really trying to put together an ecosystem that educates. And we really, really help all the lawyers, all the virtual asset people, all of you take part, and just tell them the excitement that you have in Hong Kong. I don't know about you, but I love living here. And this is the place to be for me. And it's connected to everything. I went slightly crazy in Token 2049. The traffic drove me crazy. The Singaporean La accent drove me crazy. So I really think, look behind you. Look at the view. Hong Kong is the place to be, and that's what we hope Blocktober will be. And we hope you will all come to Blocktober and come and take part. There'll be parties every night, by the way.
I think we will have a very crazy week for the FinTech Week Hong Kong. at the end of this month, right? Okay. And well, I'm sure there will be a lot of after parties as well as side events for the Future Hong Kong. Please can you support that? You see, we have a lot of passionate people supporting Hong Kong. In fact, for FSCC, FSTB, even for OGCIO, they just fly over to overseas because Angelina, you mentioned about, well, we only have 7 million people in Hong Kong. But talk about where, roughly, we are talking about a community, right? Everyone should be acting as community builders to foster the content of what we talk about fairness, inclusive community. It's not, well, we should not have any geopolitical boundary or whatever. Now, the second question, because all of my friends, local friends, they talk about licensing as well as on, the regimes, all right? When we talk about the framework, we need to have something in between, trading as digital assets. So I want to go into a deeper dive about the products. I think some of my, friends over here, they will share their real points. Talk about, digital products like the previous panel, they talk about STO, okay? Is one of the digital assets. Nowadays, we have stable coins for RWA. We have digital assets, OTC. We have the green bonds tokens by the Kwan government. We are the first jurisdiction in the world where we have the bond tokens.
We also have the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF, and even the US didn't have the Ethereum ETF.
You go too fast, Angelina, because ETF is traditional products. But with these traditional products, we bundle the crypto digital assets. I catch you this time, all right?
That's Solana as well.
That's the one, Solana.
All right, so I think for this section, Donald, okay, because these two men talk too much and they keep waiting for their opportunities. So Donald and Jay, okay, would you mind to share your viewpoints to see whether the regulation and compliance structure here in Hong Kong, is it really supporting the stakeholders here on like promoting our digital products? Donald, want to start first, or Jay, you want to start first? Jay, you start first. Don't let Donald take away too much of our airtime.
Maybe I can spend 5 minutes or so. On the product,
3 minutes each speaker.
Okay, talk too much.
On the products angle, from the compliance perspectives to see whether Hong Kong can become regional hub of Web3. In my view, I think we have a good foundation to start with. As a good example, Angela talked about Ethereum ETF. Yes, we are the first. We came in sooner than US, right? And then Bitcoin became late, a little later, but so Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs also good product. And then also we can do in-kind subscription as well, which US doesn't have. So I think it means there are good room for industries to come up with new products such as ETFs, but also other products as well. And I think we have a good legal and regulatory foundation to support it. But I think I have been working with those tokenization of assets and also funds as well. But I guess the one angle that we need to resolve is speed. For now, whenever regulated entities want to do new crypto products, we need to talk to SFOC, and then there's a dialogue. And I can see from SFOC's perspective that they want to be cautious and looking at the products, so it takes time. So I think that's one angle, that products takes time and then longer than we wish. But other than that, I think we have a foundation. And then, as a sort of a side talk, when we got our ETFs approved, I got a call from Korea, Japan, even Europe to see how they want to do more business in Hong Kong. Only ETF. So it shows the world that Hong Kong is moving forward to accept crypto as underlying assets for tokenization and others. So I think we are going into that direction. And then we have a foundation. But maybe, I guess, going forward, it may take sort of quicker to get products tokenized and those things. But for now, that's something that I wish we can do better.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
In order to make our exchange really robust, we really need to have a product. And more important, Hong Kong has been rebound back to the third global international financial center. So it's good to have RWA from different parts of the world come to Hong Kong. Don, okay? Are you holding your mic? Please share your view.
Sure. I mean, the ETFs were great, right? The cryptocurrency market is a $2.5 trillion market. They're transforming the landscape. They're getting investors in that haven't yet allocated but want to allocate, both retail and institutional. Institutionals do not really want to create new pipes. They don't really want to onboard a new trading platform. They want to trade through their normal connections, their normal prime brokers. They like to do margining. They like to net off the different positions. They like to manage liquidity how they used to. That's all possible through ETFs. And of course, ETFs, and we're seeing good volumes there on the exchange, they trigger follow-on effects, right? They enable market making, they enable liquidity providing, they enable prop trading on top of that. But I want to come back to something Angelina said, because that's quite key. In Hong Kong, we're incredibly fortunate. It's not only because of this view, but it is because here the regulators work together. And that's something we don't see in other areas, specifically not the US, that were a couple of years ago, of course, in front, and we were behind. And we're now in a situation where they have almost a scenario where there's competition amongst regulators. And just last week I talked to someone from the US, head of digital asset of a very large firm, and she was very, very frustrated about that. So we're very, very fortunate here, but we need to go forward. And the relevant authorities need to enable the commercial entities in the market to be commercially successful. Because otherwise what we're creating is a robust framework where nobody can make money, and we all know what the result of that's going to be. So we need to move forward, we need to allow, like I said before, derivatives. If you do derivatives well, a lot of people will make money. They have a very, very important role in transferring risk and managing risk. So do other borrow lending structured products. This can all be done really well, as it is done in traditional finance. And those are some of the areas where the regulators need to allow licensed and regulated entities to go into. Because it's not sustainable if it's not possible to turn a profit.
I cannot agree more with derivatives. Because without derivatives, you can't hedge. And without hedging, you can't protect. So it's like, hello, we need to have this. Totally agree.
Really. Monin, you want to say something?
Of course, absolutely.
Please do.
So, I'm seeing a lot of amazing blockchain projects and innovation. For example, out of the UK, which we're one of our clients, they are putting some of the IP on the blockchain, and I'm seeing blockchain projects in decentralized science, which is my big passion. Even though the issue of the tokens might be in a grey area in Hong Kong, however, I really want to thank the Hong Kong government. My dad's from Taiwan, but I love Hong Kong, to invite their tech team, the tech expertise, to Hong Kong, apply for Hong Kong government funding, and have a home here, develop expertise. So this is what our firm is actively pursuing. Tech expertise, AI expertise. Come to Hong Kong, we'll apply funding for you, not the unregulated portions of their business. We can divide each up and make it bite-sized, easy for them to learn in Hong Kong. So that's absolutely what we're doing and being very passionate about.
Right, again, this is also the way that Hong Kong not just totally working on the regular regimes, but also working on the funding part, attract more talents or startup come to Hong Kong, working together. Yeah. Thank you for Monin mentioning part. I think this is a very important missing piece from time to time on the panel we always miss out. Now, well, afterward, the topic is here is about post-quantum, okay? And we are talking about privacy, right? Cybersecurity, privacy things, very important things that we have to take care of in the digital asset space, because apart from AML, KYC, I do think we should also shed some light as well on comments to see where the regulation compliance here in Hong Kong is supporting on investor protection as well as on privacy. Now, Angelina, you're an accountant, you work on compliance, right? Why not to get started and share your viewpoints about these particular matters? Do you think the regulation and compliance, structure in Hong Kong, okay, is helping, the investors as well as the stakeholders trying to protect those people like the ultimate users or investors on the privacy aspect? Well, you mind to share some of your viewpoint? Because I think from time to time we talk about regulation compliance. We are very focused on licensing things as well as the AML, KYC. How about privacy? How about the post-quantum, like the quantum-proof things on cybersecurity? You may want to talk something about privacy. Right?
One of the things about Hong Kong is when we had our revamp, we realized that the original regulators were actually the government. And because of the Hay-Davidson report, because of the basically problems in the market, because of Black Friday many years ago, we actually had a revamp of the entire SFC. And what they did was they hired the best of the best because the SFC became a body that could actually pay market rates or decent rates as a regulator. And they also had the freedom to hire the best from around the world. And I think the people that came up with legislation that came after that report, some of the people that drafted, for example, the internal control guidelines that were drafted maybe 10 years ago, but even now, it's so simple and very easy to comply with. And I think for me, just doing the licenses, when I was getting the licenses for HashKey, it was a lot easier because our fit and proper, our internal control guidelines, they're practical and they're relatively easy to comply with, and they're not codified in like a ton of rules. So this is where Hong Kong has a really good regime that's not every single thing is rules-based. They expect you to understand that common sense prevails, but integrity is the most important. And yes, client privacy, doing the right thing, making sure that you know who your client is, and you don't bring in bad actors into the market. All of these things are like motherhood and doing the right thing. And I think this is where Hong Kong's regulatory regime is quite simple, but yet it works. So that's something about Hong Kong. Even before, when Donna was in the SFC, they were coming out with the legislation, but we already sort of knew how to comply because if you've worked in a securities firm before, you can pretty much figure it out. Security, reliability, making sure that you lock your server room doors. I mean, simple things like that. We have that in place. And other countries do not have that. If you look at MiCA is the new legislation for Europe. God help you if you're going to get a license in Europe because it's really long and it's a whole section on digital assets. So I think this is something where Hong Kong was really quite admirable in this.
Thank you, Angelina. I think besides framework, I know Monin, you have doing some research or some subject matter experts to me, or like privacy tokens. You also do some research on the DAO case that recently happened in Hong Kong. You might share some of your viewpoints.
Yes, thank you. We are very passionate in DAOs. The world's first DAO.
Why are you passionate in DAOs? Just curious.
It's put it simply, it's a passion project. So DAO is decentralized autonomous organization. To put it very simply, it's a group of people coming together to execute on smart contract decisions to pursue an economic interest. And I see a lot of DAOs coming to fruition because of this like-mindedness and the passion, whether it's sustainable or whether certain parts of the operations is completely legal. Again, we come down to the token issue. It's another story. So we advise a lot of DAOs. Some are in Hong Kong, some outside of Hong Kong. And we've just won the world's first DAO court case in Hong Kong. So I just want to highlight, Hong Kong does have the legal expertise Because we've been through 9 judges, everyone who says, no, maybe we should adjourn. It's like, no. Finally, we've been through the process, we have the legal expertise. Hong Kong lawyers are very international, very savvy, very sophisticated, so are the regulators. Now, my point is this. On the Dalco case, it comes to the topic and issue of who are the token issues? Who do we account to? Accountability. So do we have the KYC AML of every single token issuer? The answer is no. Then if we recruit the funds, and we deal with a lot of fraud cases as well, who do we distribute funding to? So the current topical interest, and it's in the papers, is the WorldCoin issue. So Hong Kong, Singapore both banned WorldCoin. Okay, let's delve deeper. WorldCoin take your iris. This is the only information they take. When they have the iris data, they break it into parts on the blockchain. That's all. As a user, everyone has the right to choose the data you wish to share to WorldCoin and your counterparts on the WorldCoin ecosystem. So to me, again, it's claim and control. If I want to have a right to determine my own privacy, why can't I? Now, then, both Hong Kong, Singapore, Hong Kong Payment Services License. If you have an account, and there's no problem with WorldCoin Foundation operating in Singapore with a platform, but as long as there are WorldCoin ambassadors selling those accounts, then you need the Payment Services License and all the AML KYC. Hong Kong data privacy. Do you have a system to educate the users how this data are accumulated, computed, used, analyzed, and then manipulate the population? Now we have 7 million on WorldCoin. So I'm just throwing out there, I don't have all the answers, but it's a philosophy between, again, claim and control and users' rights. So there you go.
Can I just give a shout out? Thank you for bringing up that case. The woman who actually called out WorldCoin in Hong Kong and actually talked to a number of people is a very, very experienced regulator. Her name is Ada, and she used to be the company's registry head. And we are so lucky to have this very experienced woman who actually took on WorldCoin and called them out. Because basically, WorldCoin had your data like stored or stuffed in a drawer somewhere, and they really didn't follow standards. So I'm really, really glad that we have really professional regulators as well as lawyers and accountants in Hong Kong that have the pride as well as the confidence to shout out when something is not right. And it's interesting because WorldCoin now, they're focusing only on the countries that are really poor. And you know, it's dangerous. You don't know how your data is going to be stored. So, warning, don't get involved with WorldCoin.
All right. Okay. Now, we just talked about quite a lot of things about Hong Kong, and many of us are quite proud of Hong Kong too. Now, we're talking about digital assets. We need to deal with larger communities on a global basis. Now, tell me, how do we compare our regulations as well as digital assets regime with other jurisdictions, like our good friend Japan, Singapore, Middle East? Like within these two years' time, we see Middle East emerging very fast on digital assets. 2 years ago, we came to Hong Kong, tried to understand our digital assets regime, as well as trying to work with us on the DP33 to see how we work as a twin cities too. Now become a very important partner to us. So, dear friends over here, dear panelists, well, please share your view about how do we compare our regular regimes of digital assets with other jurisdictions. I'm not talking about geopolitical things because nowadays I see a greater collaboration and we should learn from each other. So please share your viewpoints. Donald, you want to say something first?
Sure, given the time I have to be really, really fast. Like I said before, the US was far ahead and they seem to have dropped off this competition between the regulators and has become very, very politicized. Europe, like Angelina said, Europe does what Europe always does. They create a framework this thick, which is nearly impossible to fulfill, and they move at a snail's pace. So they will get there in about 15 years. The FCA is good, but they're sort of like going one day retail is good, the other day it's not so good, one day derivatives are good, the next day not so good. But they're moving quite well. Japan and Korea are doing really well, but they're very closed market. It's very difficult to be successful in the Japanese or Korean markets if you're not Japanese or Korean. Singapore for a long time was seen as more crypto friendly, what that ever means. And a lot of people who didn't like regulation in Hong Kong, they went to Singapore and a lot of them blew up. So the MAS actually did a 180-degree turn and followed the Hong Kong regulation. I know this is a very controversial subject and I'm happy to hold that debate. So my conclusion is I really think Hong Kong is miles ahead of any other financial center when it comes to regulated institutional digital assets. I think that's where Hong Kong has a competitive advantage, and I really, really hope that we can really build on that and maintain that lead.
Donald, did you know that the young lady who's taken over Singapore's licensing has 30 new staff? How many staff did you get? 6. So I think this is something that we can help Hong Kong if we can get them some more staff. So.
Jay, what do you think? Now, is there something we should do more, try to mirror or to refine some of our regulations with our jurisdiction? You will share some of your viewpoints because you're very close to the Korean community, because for Korea it's quite crypto friendly too.
Sure. I tend to agree with what Donald said, and sort of comparison to different regulations in different countries. I will speak about Korea a bit later, but I guess just one point that I will add to what Donald said is, for regulations, as a lawyer's view, somehow it helps investors and customers have a better protection, right? And then he talked about segregation of crypto assets and others as well. Why do we need it? Because we are making sure that investors are well protected when something goes wrong. But also regulations giving compliance costs and other costs to players as well. So on the balance of compliance costs but also protecting investors, I think Hong Kong is pretty good compared to other regulations. As he said, USA, they have a big investor base and big market, but there's no clear-cut regulation governing crypto assets yet. They're just using all the security laws. Other countries are trying to do something, but I think one angle that Hong Kong has done well, better than others, is, in my view, we have sort of, how can I say, rules and regulations governing each segment of the crypto asset market. For example, we have the stablecoin licensing regime to come, also OTC licensing regime to come. We have a regulation on VATP. We SFC and also HKMA set out circulars and others governing how you can do tokenized securities, how banks can do custody of your business of custody assets. So all those things are well covered by different rules. Now speaking about Korea, they have a very big retail investor base, but I understand that companies are allowed to buy and sell Bitcoin and other coins on Korean exchanges. So you have a big investor base of a retail institutional base they don't have.
Thank you, Jay.
But in the sense, Hong Kong, we can, retailers can do, also institutions can do it too. So in the sense, pretty good.
Thank you. Monin?
Time is increasing.
Don't worry, the previous panel have serious overrun. We should revenge. We should take back our spot. Okay. Monin.
We love Hong Kong because it sets us the stable scene. We love Singapore as well. We love everyone. Okay. My point is this. We wanna always find that frontier. I tell all my clients, our advice is valid for 3 months. Why? Because laws change in this space exponentially, and I'm very excited to be in different jurisdictions and compare and find I wouldn't say jurisdiction shop, I just said it, but that's the sweet spot. Now, I want to challenge everyone to think about something that is pockets of people are creating a different world. Pockets of people are creating pop-up cities. Montenegro, Bali, Thailand, a lot of people are buying islands to create their own community with a mini quasi-government. These are places to look out for, and they're very exciting. They're amazing projects. So I just want to say, Hong Kong, yes, stability and all that, but always look out for the next disruptive force. That's just what I want to say.
Thank you, Monin. Angelina, you want to say something because this is the last question. We are going to close everything.
I think if all of us could really encourage your friends, encourage people to come to Hong Kong and give it a chance, especially during October, that would be great. Because I personally think, and I came here a number of years ago, and I love this place, and I really want to share it with people. And you'll never get a sunset like that ever.
Take your pictures.
So help Hong Kong, and bring in your friends and hope that they stay. And we really, really wish that you will all take part in Blocktober, and we look forward to partying with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the honors over here. I don't think we have too much time for any Q&A, but I would like to allow one question, if there's any questions on the floor. In order to complete my job to... Yes, again, yes, please.
Sorry, I don't want to drag this out, but you know this, and thanks very much. You were talking about regulations and stringency, but trying to make it possible to make more revenue. And you know, this morning they were talking about in order to try to encourage mass adoption, to try to make everything much easier for people, easier to understand and so forth. But in a kind of way, does that, how do you guys feel about that? Does that kind of open up to possibly cutting corners, or, you know, regulators turning blind eyes and stuff like that?
Education and making the process easy for account opening, these are simple things that can be done in terms of just making the forms easier, holding courses and seminars about digital assets. What is difficult from what I see, and being a COO of Hashkey, I can say that Donald is probably going through the same things. It ain't cheap to operate in Hong Kong. And that's one of the things that that unfortunately is the flip side of operating here. But I think as more clients come to join in or open accounts with digital asset firms, then the cost per account will go down, and theoretically more people will be trading. And this is something we hope more people will start trading when they see digital assets are an interesting investment product. And this is what we hope that Hong Kong will do, and people will get involved. But we also need people to be advocates of understanding and looking into it. And I think this is something that for those of you who are educated here, talk to your friends about it. I mean, obviously don't force them to go and buy Bitcoin if they really don't want to, but get involved. And if everybody brought in 1 or 2 new clients, at least you'd get a lot more interest and some buzz. And I think that would really, really help bringing the cost of account opening down if more people came and talked about it and had a positive buzz. So I guess that's where I'd be coming from. It isn't easy, and I think at some point we need to talk to the regulators to go, okay, there's a cost and a benefit. Let's look at cost and benefit. And this is something that eventually we're going to have to sit down with them on that. But right now, in its nascent stage, I think this is where we are, and hopefully we'll just get more clients and more interest. And the fact that all of you guys are still here, it's a good thing.
Yeah, don't know.
Let me just add on to that because you mentioned something very important. Clearly education is key, and education is key because we're talking about potentially rather complex products. Hong Kong has a strong market for structured products, for example. Binary option, barrier options, risk reversals, collars, put call spreads. These are products that aren't suitable for everyone. And they're fairly difficult to understand in detail and to reverse engineer out and to really get the correct revenue or profit profile. Similarly, some of the more structured products that we will see in the digital asset space, they will require a lot of education. Surely, we want to make it easier to get exposure. ETFs are one way to do that. But we're moving ahead with the exchanges, with the trading platform, that will help. At the same time, we need to make sure that people make an informed decision in what they're actually investing. Because if people lose money, that's not good for anyone.
Thank you, Donald. Thank you, everyone, because we have been overrun by almost 15 minutes. And to be honest, when I be the moderator assigned to these topics, I think these are very boring topics. And I can't imagine that we have a very interesting discussion, very interactive, and very passionate professionals over here representing different stakeholders of sectors of digital assets. So on the floor, please help me to give a big hands to my panelists. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, our speakers. So we have prepared some souvenirs for all of our speakers on stage. So please go ahead and give it to our speakers. And then can we have our speakers, let's have a photo together with this souvenir. Alright, so our speakers on stage, maybe we can stand a little bit closer with each other, and please kindly look at our official photographer in the center. Alright, so please continue to stay for our next photographer. Okay, so please remain on stage. So as we're wrapping up the programs on stage, here we have all the participants. Please come join us on stage and let's have a good photo together. Everyone, don't be shy. Please come up on stage to have a good photos. Thank you so much for your time staying since 9 o'clock in the mornings until already 6 p.m. So can I invite all the participants, even those over there who are networking, please come join us on stage as well, and let's have a good photo together. All right, do we have more participants, more guests? Please come up on stage. Please join us on stage for a photo. Any more? All right, don't be shy. Please come join us on stage for group photos. Today is a happy day, so we would like to commemorate this happy moment. Should we all give what do you want to give? Heart? Heart also means cash. Huh? 錢嚟㗎嘛呢個 money, money. All right, so one more for the video. Should we all wave towards the video? Over there. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your participation and your support to us post-quantum blockchain day 2024. So this wraps up our programs on stage. Thank you very much. So now we invite all of you to proceed to the networking party, Quantum Social Storage. And we're going together at this after party to celebrate our journey towards a better future. 再一次感谢大家莅临我们今天的峰会。那么下面是交流。